before the break. There was flow. Paul George did not arrive in the league loud. He arrived smooth. Smooth in movement, smooth in confidence, smooth in demeanor. His game looked effortless. Long strides, balanced jumpers. Defensive focus without panic. He wasn't chaotic. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't trying to prove something on every possession. He let the game come to him. That is rare for a young star. Most young players rush into greatness. They chase validation. They force moments to happen. Paul George developed steadily. Steady growth builds real confidence, not hype, not temporary belief, not emotional swings. Real confidence. Confidence built through reps, through discipline, through proving to yourself that you belong. He became a franchise player through patience. Patience allowed his skills to compound. Compounding skill builds separation. Separation builds identity. Identity builds authority. He wasn't the loudest leader. He wasn't the most emotional competitor. But he was composed. Composure becomes dangerous when backed by talent. He defended at a high level. He scored in rhythm. He moved with control. Control under pressure makes opponents uncomfortable. He was becoming what every organization hopes for: stability. Stability builds trust. Trust builds responsibility. Responsibility builds growth. Everything was ascending, and then everything stopped. One moment can fracture identity. A single play, a single misstep, a single second. The injury was more than physical. It was psychological. Because when your body betrays you, your confidence fractures. Confidence relies on trust. Trust in your body. Trust in your movement. Trust in your reaction. When trust disappears, hesitation enters. Hesitation is the real injury. Physical healing has timelines. Mental healing does not. When you experience trauma, the mind remembers even after the body repairs. Every jump feels uncertain. Every sprint carries doubt. Every landing triggers fear. Fear tightens muscles. Tight muscles reduce explosion. Reduced explosion affects performance. Performance impacts belief. Belief shapes identity. The cycle becomes fragile. This is where most careers quietly fade. Not because the body fails, because confidence fails. Paul George had to rebuild something deeper than strength. He had to rebuild trust. Trust is rebuilt through repetition. Repetition builds familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. But repetition requires courage. Courage to step back onto the court. Courage to plant your leg without bracing. Courage to sprint without guarding against worst-case outcomes. Courage is not loud. It is subtle. It is showing up again when your mind remembers pain. He did not just rehab physically. He retrained belief. Belief is fragile after trauma. The mind begins asking dangerous questions. What if I'm not the same? What if I've lost my edge? What if I can't move like I used to? What if I never get back? Those questions create hesitation. Hesitation changes posture. Posture changes rhythm. Rhythm changes performance. Performance affects perception, and perception can destroy confidence if not managed. He had to silence those questions internally, not by pretending they didn't exist, but by confronting them. Confrontation builds strength. He started small. Short drills. Controlled movements. Gradual expansion. Gradual expansion restores trust. Trust restores fluidity. Fluidity restores confidence. But here is the deeper truth. When identity cracks, you must decide who you are again. Before the injury, his identity was rising star. After the injury, it could have become fragile talent. He refused that label. He chose reconstruction. Reconstruction requires patience. Patience requires discipline. Discipline requires belief in long-term outcomes. He trusted the long process. Not because it was easy, but because quitting would have ended everything. There are moments in life when your confidence is taken from you. Moments where you question your future. Moments where doubt feels louder than belief. Those moments define you, not because of what happened, but because of how you respond. Paul George did not rush the rebuild. He did not chase immediate dominance. He rebuilt brick by brick. Strength, mobility, balance, timing. Timing is crucial after injury. When you hesitate by half a second, defenders close space. When defenders close space, shots become harder. Harder shots affect rhythm. Rhythm affects confidence. He rebuilt rhythm through repetition. He retrained his mind to trust his body. Trust rebuilt movement. Movement rebuilt performance. Performance rebuilt belief. Belief rebuilt identity. Identity rebuilt legacy. But here is what most do not see. The mental scar does not disappear. You carry it. You learn from it. You grow around it. Adversity can either shrink you or expand you. It expanded him because he chose reconstruction over retreat. He chose belief over doubt. He chose patience over panic. He chose rebuilding over redefining himself as broken. Broken is temporary. Rebuilt is permanent. And the most dangerous players in the league are not the ones who never fell. They are the ones who learned how to stand again. Rebuilding the body is measurable. Rebuilding the mind is invisible. After trauma, the body may heal. Doctors may clear you. Strength may return. But the mind remembers. It remembers the moment. It remembers the snap. It remembers the fear. And even when you step back onto the floor, a silent voice whispers, "Be careful." That whisper is hesitation. Hesitation changes rhythm. Rhythm affects confidence. Confidence determines identity. Paul George had to do something most people never realize is required. He had to reprogram his subconscious. The subconscious does not respond to motivation. It responds to repetition. Every rep without injury rewrites memory. Every landing without pain weakens fear. Every sprint without hesitation strengthens belief. Belief is built slowly after trauma. You cannot demand it back. You earn it. He had to trust his leg before the world trusted him again. Trusting yourself first is essential. External validation cannot repair internal doubt. He did not wait for applause. He waited for alignment. Alignment between mind and body. When you jump and land without bracing. When you plant and explode without guarding. When you cut instinctively again. That is alignment. Alignment restores fluidity. Fluidity restores rhythm. Rhythm restores dominance. But even as his body strengthened, another battle began. Public expectation. The world labeled him. Playoff P. Confidence declared publicly. But when performance fluctuates under pressure, labels become weapons. The same nickname that symbolized belief became ammunition for criticism. And criticism is heavier when it echoes. Social media repeats it. Talk shows amplify it. Opponents mock it. The narrative grows louder. Most players crumble here because public identity can invade private belief. When noise becomes constant, it can distort self-perception. He had to separate performance from identity. Performance fluctuates. Identity should not. If your identity depends on outcomes, it becomes fragile. Fragile confidence shatters under pressure. He learned to detach. Detach from commentary. Detach from trending opinions. Detach from ridicule. Detachment protects belief. Belief fuels performance. When you care too much about perception, you hesitate. Hesitation destroys rhythm. He had to return to fundamentals. Why do I play? Who am I without the narrative? What defines me beyond highlights and misses? Those questions rebuild identity from the inside out. He remembered he was disciplined. He remembered he was patient. He remembered he rebuilt once before. Rebuilt confidence is stronger than untested confidence. Untested confidence is naive. Rebuilt confidence is earned. He stopped trying to prove himself to critics. He started proving consistency to himself. Consistency builds stability. Stability builds resilience. Resilience silences doubt. The playoffs expose mental cracks. The lights are brighter. The mistakes are magnified. The misses replayed. Every possession carries weight. Weight pressures insecure identities. But secure identities simplify. He began simplifying. One possession. One decision. One read. Breaking moments into small parts removes emotional overload. Overload leads to forced plays. Forced plays fuel criticism. Simplification builds clarity. Clarity produces clean execution. He did not silence critics with words. He silenced internal doubt with preparation. Preparation builds insulation. Insulation protects confidence from external noise. He accepted something powerful. Criticism is inevitable. Perfection is impossible. But discipline is controllable. Control what you can. Release what you cannot. That mindset is freedom. Freedom restores fluidity. Fluidity restores confidence. Confidence restores identity. And identity is everything. He was no longer trying to live up to a nickname. He was living up to his work. Work never betrays you. Reputation fluctuates. Work compounds. Compounded work rebuilds legacy. The world may remember mistakes, but the disciplined mind remembers progress. He rebuilt again, not from injury this time, from narrative. And rebuilding twice creates something rare. Mental armor. Armor built through adversity. Armor built through doubt. Armor built through survival. Survival creates perspective. Perspective creates calm. Calm restores rhythm. Rhythm restores belief. Belief restores dominance. And the most dangerous version of any player is the one who has already rebuilt himself. You are not your worst moment. You are not your injury. You are not your slump. You are not the highlight that went wrong. You are not the narrative that followed. You are the rebuild. The rebuild is where strength is forged. Anyone can shine when everything is intact. Few can rise when something breaks. When confidence cracks, you have two choices: shrink or reconstruct. You chose reconstruction. Reconstruction is patient. Reconstruction is disciplined. Reconstruction is quiet. You did not rush your return. You did not force belief. You rebuilt it, brick by brick, rep by rep, moment by moment. Confidence rebuilt is stronger than confidence assumed, because it has been tested. Tested by fear, tested by doubt, tested by public scrutiny, and it survived. Your mind remembers the fall, but it also remembers the comeback. The comeback matters more. You no longer fear setbacks, because you know how to rebuild. You no longer fear criticism, because you have survived it. You no longer fear pressure, because you have already endured worse. Pressure is small compared to reconstruction. Reconstruction requires courage. You have courage. Say this internally now. I am not my worst moment. I am not my setback. I am not my injury. I'm not the opinion of others. I am disciplined. I am patient. I am rebuilding constantly. Every rep strengthens me. Every challenge refines me. Every doubt sharpens me. I trust my work. I trust my process. I trust my comeback. Confidence returns through repetition. Belief returns through discipline. Identity returns through consistency. I do not rush growth. I do not panic under pressure. I do not allow narrative to define me. I define myself. And when the moment comes, I am ready, because I have rebuilt before, and I can rebuild again. Understand this clearly. The strongest version of you is not the version that never fell. It is the version that stood back up without bitterness, without excuses, without surrender. There is a different type of confidence that forms after adversity. It is quieter. It is steadier. It does not need validation, because it has already survived loss. When you have faced doubt and continued anyway, you develop something permanent. Perspective. Perspective removes panic. Perspective removes desperation. Perspective creates calm. You are no longer chasing approval. You are building mastery. Mastery is patient. Mastery is disciplined. Mastery is earned slowly, and you have earned it. You understand now that confidence is not loud celebration. It is silent trust. Trust in your preparation. Trust in your repetition. Trust in your resilience. When the game tightens, you do not tense. You simplify. When critics speak, you do not react. You refine. When pressure rises, you do not shrink. You expand. Expansion comes from belief. Belief comes from proof. You have proven to yourself that you can rebuild. That proof cannot be taken from you. Nobody can remove what you rebuilt. Nobody can erase what you earned. You are stronger because you were tested. You are calmer because you were challenged. You are wiser because you were doubted. The version of you before adversity was talented. The version of you after adversity is powerful. Power built through pain is stable. Stable power is dangerous. You no longer fear setbacks because you know setbacks are temporary. You no longer fear criticism because you know opinions shift. You no longer fear failure because you know failure teaches. You trust the long game. You trust the quiet work. You trust your growth. Say this with conviction. I rebuild stronger. I grow through pressure. I return sharper. I am disciplined. I am composed. I am confident. I'm not defined by what broke me. I'm defined by how I rebuilt. And when the next challenge appears, I will not panic. I will not retreat. I will reconstruct again, stronger, sharper, unshaken. Because rebuilding is no longer fear. It is who I am.